about going on a cruise, sipping this.
There you go. Yeah, how was your cruise?
It was good. I had a day where I was the most relaxed I've ever been in my entire life.
Wow.
My mother paid for me to have this $200 massage. I've never had a professional massage before, and it was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Like this, and she only did it because she had one herself, and she was like, "This was amazing. I have to pay for all you guys to go do it." And I'm like all about it. Now that I'm home, I need one every week because I'm like I have to relive this.
Yeah.
You know.
Was that on the boat?
Yeah, that was on the boat. And I think the best part for me, it's kind of sappy. I'm not normally sappy, but the best part for me was seeing Sophie in like a different setting than the house. Sophie, I have a 2-year-old named Sophie, and she's bonkers.
Okay.
We call her a raccoon.
Mm-hmm.
She's wild.
Okay.
She's feral.
Feral.
She's into everything. She's crying. She's just a mess, right? And to see her like happy and enjoying and like I don't know, I just saw her in a different light than me seeing her at the end of the day after work, where she's worn out, she's tired, she's hungry,
And you are worn out.
and I'm tired and hungry.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it was just like, oh my God, she's amazing. Like, this is the girl. I felt like I'd missed out on who she was until that cruise. I felt like this is my daughter, and she's amazing, you know?
Who knew? See, you got to get a massage to like your
Yeah.
kids. That's the lesson. That's perfect.
My first massage was from a cruise as well. We had a destination. It was a private beach in Mexico. Never done a massage, and so pay for it. And the lady, she's just speaking Spanish. It is just this remote village, okay. And so I'm just on the table, bathing suit because it's on the beach, and she just pulls my bathing suit down, and so I'm just butt ass on the beach in front of the other people that also paid for this experience. There's no tents, there's nothing. So I'm like, all right, this is how we get massages here. And that was my first one. I'm like, I think I need massages moving forward. Yeah, absolutely. And I did. That was one of the best things that happened to me, even though it hurt. I don't know if yours hurt the first time.
Your upper...
everything hurt.
For me, it was my neck, my traps,
Yeah.
my shoulders. It's just... I'm a drywaller, so all that just accumulates right there.
All that lactic acid.
Yeah, yep, exactly.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Well, welcome to the show. This is CockTalk. Just want to take a second here to introduce everybody before we keep diving into what we're going to talk about. We're going to dive into a lot of NFL content. Super Bowl's coming up. We are filming this before the AFC and NFC championship game, so we do not know who's in the Super Bowl. We can guess within four possibilities, but we're going to talk sports betting, and then we'll see where the conversation goes. So let me just introduce everybody. Derek, why don't you go for it? Well, I'm Mark. You already know that because I'm the celebrity on the show. That's why you're here. And God, people are like, "Who the fuck is this guy?"
Big radio star.
Yes. Yeah, Derek, why don't you just tell people what you do?
Well, my name is Derek Gielarowski. I help write for Fantasyholics, which is a fantasy football advice forum where we help our followers get the best info possible to help reach their fantasy championships and ultimately win. We feel like we are an up-and-coming resource to be able to use our rankings, our injury advice, just put the best possible people in your lineups to be able to get what you want, and that is more money usually, right?
Mm-hmm. Do you just do fantasy football, or do you also do fantasy survivor? Because that's my...
So I actually... We don't do Survivor, but I was in my first Survivor League this year.
Okay. Yes, it's a thing. I remember it being a
Yes.
thing way back in season 2. I think Yahoo started a Survivor fantasy league, and you draft all the people.
I love it. I love Survivor. I live on Survivor.
I actually cashed out in my first Survivor League. There were 3 people that made it to the end with a $2,000 pot, so I got to split it 3 ways, and
Nice.
I made out pretty well. I'm
Which is
happy
why
for that.
all these Honolulu Blue drinks are on Derek.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, gents.
Cheers, gents. Yeah, so these are all inspired by Copper Craft's Honolulu Blue. We have a nice can here, but that's in celebration and in lieu of the, I can't even believe I'm saying this, the like potential NFC champions, the Lions. Maybe I jinxed it. By the time you're watching this, you'll know if I jinxed it or not. But yeah, where the Lions are right now. I mean, only one time in, I think, all our lifetimes that they've been this far in the playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
since 93 or
1991.
91.
I believe, yeah.
91 0. Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, 1991. Barry Sanders is on that team, right?
Yeah.
So, and you think he was like second year in the league? First
yeah.
or second year?
Yeah.
He was like, this is going to be amazing.
Yeah.
My career is going to be fantastic with this team.
Yeah.
Oh, and then it ended really great.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, thanks, Derek. Tyler. Hi,
Tyler.
welcome to the show.
Thank you. Tyler Luurtsema.
Is that actually how you say it? Luurtsema?
Yeah.
There's an extra syllable on
Luurtsema.
there?
Well, technically, the real Dutch pronunciation is like Luurtsema, but I can't even do it. It's got some weird rolling of the tongue on the double U's.
I love it.
So yeah, the Americans though it's all Luurtsema. And I am a drywaller. I own a drywall franchise. Avid sports fan. I love competition of all kinds. I'm here to discuss strategy, what's going to take to win, and all that.
Win in life as well. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Nick.
My name's Nick. I'm. It's Kiselewski. We don't. It's quite the last name. Like
Is that actually how you say your last name?
Kiselewski? Yeah.
Kiselewski?
We have 3 wild last names.
Wow. I've known you for, gosh, 6-7 years?
Yeah.
7 years, I think.
Yeah.
Did not know that that's how you said your last name.
Yeah.
I always thought it was Kiselewski.
Yeah, Kiselewski.
Kiselewski.
Yeah. Extra little syllable in there.
Either no one corrected me
Yeah.
or no one else knows how to say it.
Nobody really knew. Like Joel probably didn't
Although
know.
the spelling makes a lot of sense to me now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I was like, man, there's a couple silent letters in his name.
Yeah, and they actually, so my family removed some letters when they came over from Poland. Yeah, so it was Kiselewski is what it used to be. Yeah.
Go back.
Love it.
Go back to it.
I know, man. I might.
I mean, they're both hard to figure out what.
I know.
So might as well.
Yeah, who cares?
Add a Z, a couple Y's, a W. Well, there's a W. Yeah.
Polacks, baby.
We can't
so,
all have
where-
a last
where,
name like Paul.
What are you doing?
Yeah. So I'm a serial entrepreneur, basically. My first company, do outdoor lighting, but I do a lot of sports betting. Been doing it for a while. I've won a lot and then lost all of it and then won some back. And so I'm starting a sports betting company, kind of getting into the space now. And so that's kind of my big passion. So NFL, I love NFL, but I mean, I was up at like 3 a.m. 2 nights ago betting on the Australian Open, so like.
I mean, why wouldn't you?
Exactly. Yeah. Just a total like degenerate move. But I mean, I hit my bet, so who cares? It was worth it. Yeah.
Awesome. And what's your? Do you have a name for your sports?
Yeah. So it's going to be. I'm launching it next week, but it's going to be on Patreon. NicsPicks is what it's going to be, and I want to teach people how to actually sports bet. Everybody chases these big like parlays, which are fun. Like sprinkle a couple bucks and see if you can hit a few $1,000s, but it's just not actually like a way to bet on sports in a consistent way and be profitable. People go broke doing it, and so I'm trying to get people to learn the industry a little bit differently.
Okay. So you're like you're gonna teach me how to read cards.
Yeah.
And most people are just going and playing slots.
Yeah.
Is
Exactly.
what you're saying.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, we'll dive into everything betting with you. And,
Yeah.
we're looking forward to doing that. I think to start, because if you've watched the first couple episodes, Joel's behind the camera, so I'm the only person who can look at his face right now. But we talked a lot about homesteading in the first couple episodes. Homesteading in the greater sphere of being self-sufficient, and that's why I love this topic, because a lot of people want to have like a side hustle. They want to, they're looking to make extra money. They want to work from home, which like a lot of us do, and like it's great to be able to just sit at a computer and do something. Tyler's like, I would die if I did that all day.
Gotta keep moving.
Gotta move. But I think a lot of people would love to be able to have that side hustle kind of vibe. So I think that that's where we'll start is, I mean, obviously you've made some money. How can somebody who's just starting out that says, I love sports, now, like plenty of people love sport, and that's that can mean a lot of different things, but where, there's everything from the fantasy football side, of course, is, I'm hopping in a league with a few of my buddies and we're doing this thing, but usually that's, I mean, what's your typical buyout in a league that you're in the end? In the end, what do you win if you win?
Well, a typical buy-in is $25 ish.
Yeah.
I think everybody's usually comfortable with that. Like, oh yeah, it
Which
doesn't
is
break
just
the
like
bank. $25, $50. Some people I hear
$100 or more.
in my group, Fantasyholics, one has $1,000 league, and I personally think that that's a lot. But if you know your stuff and you know the ins and outs of football and how injuries play out the whole season, then you can take advantage of that and your knowledge of the whole system, and you make that big money.
Problem is, in $1,000 league, it's not just like, I don't know much about football, but why not? I'll put $1,000 on this fantasy team.
Yeah.
I mean, some people have that ability to do that, but probably a league like that, you've got 8 to 12 people that know what they're doing, and that's where it'd be. You're, maybe you can clean up if you guys have some secrets.
Now, do you guys get into like the DFS side of things too, like the daily leagues? Is that part of what you do?
Yeah. So we did have a specialist in the DFS realm, where every week he would post some of his best plays to put into your normal lineups. Like, oh yeah, this quarterback, he's starting this week in place of the guy who's injured, which happened a lot this year. So many backup quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So you should run with this guy who's bound to put up some good points against a pretty terrible defense. Yeah, play this guy along with stacking their wide receiver, their tight end with them. So he can put out his best picks with their price, and you try and formulate your best lineups with some of those, along with some of your own preferences.
Yeah. I feel like there's a natural like progression there from just like the regular like fantasy football that we all kind of grew up with, and then tying that into like DFS or, just like, standard like sports betting. Like it's all like, if you have that knowledge, you can just use it a different way. You know what I mean? So that makes sense for you guys.
Definitely.
Okay, let's say this. I've got $500 that I just want to, I just want to get into sports betting. And I say this as a person who has never, other than actually going to Vegas and betting while I was there, because it was like, I don't know, it was probably 10 years ago, and it was like, oh sweet, you can bet on sports here. And it was, I took like $5 on this game, $5 on this over under, it was, and I had no clue what I was doing. I think I won, I don't know, $35 on a $5 bet or something like that, and so I felt pretty darn good about myself. I said I should have put $1,000 on that. But if I've got $100, $500, like where do I start in sports betting to go? Like, that's, I have no idea where to start.
So stuff like what Derek does, right? So where, you've got guys that are like, telling you, this is the quarterback, this is the play, right? This is the wide receiver, this is the running, like starting there with a basic knowledge, and then diving into, there's other websites, like, I mean, there's a bunch, but like there's one called props.cash. They do just fantasy deep dive statistics into basically everything sports betting, everything kind of like fantasy too. And so you start there. You start with getting your knowledge up, because like that, like $5 you won 35, and that's when the chasing starts. And then you're like, oh,
I can do this again. This is
yeah,
easy.
I'll put $100 on it, right? And then now you're out $100, and then you kind of start over, and then you win a little bit, and you have no idea how to actually like manage your bankroll at all, which is every beginner's main problem is a bankroll.
Okay, talk to me about that. I don't know what that
Yeah.
means, so tell me what.
So you have $500.
Okay.
One unit is going to be, you're going to bet $5. Those are going to be your straight bets. And those are going to be bets that you feel confident in. And when I say a straight bet, I mean a single, like you're going to take, okay, the Lions versus Niners. One of my straight bets is I'm taking Brock Purdy for 250 yards. That's almost a guarantee unless he really has a bad game
Or gets hurt.
Which,
what are you going to do if a guy gets hurt?
And
you
it just
can't,
happens.
you can't plan for an injury, right?
Right, and it just happens. So I'm going to take a unit and I'm going to put it on Brock Purdy, and then I'm going to use some of the websites that I use for sports betting, and just find the best value for the bets, and that's really.
So you're finding the best odds to where when he throws for 250 yards, you're going to make the best payout.
Right, and so like, because you could take Brock Purdy, you could take Christian McCaffrey to rush for 40 yards, but it's the odds would be like minus 2,000, and so you'd put $10 on it, and you'd win $10.05 or something, whatever whatever
Because
the odds
it's just
are.
so
It's
likely
guaranteed.
to happen.
Yeah, exactly. So you find where Vegas kind of messed up, and they undervalued or overvalued a pick, and you just kind of try to hedge and find your straights that you like.
So how are with your venture? I want to back up.
Yeah.
How do you start a sports betting company? What is that like? Obviously, you get an LLC and all that stuff. That's fine. But what is it that's going into it?
So basically, I honestly I had a dream, crystal clear, I microdosed mushrooms the night before, and I had a dream that
Same, just like 15 minutes ago.
yeah, I mean, this podcast is called CockTalk. Let's just like
how can we? Yeah,
right,
we're all about just grabbing it from the earth.
Yeah.
I might die in the next 20 minutes. Just keep going without me. I'll be fine.
Like I said, I microdosed, and I saw everybody put their head down.
There's a good chance that the Honolulu Blue will just eat away at something in there. And
exactly.
I'll come back. I'll be back.
All right, so
you had a good night.
I had a good night. Yeah. I had a dream about basically this marketing plan for sports betting, and so honestly, I approached the people that I knew in the industry, just some of like the CEOs and like people that run these like 20,000 plus member Discords, and nobody really saw like my vision of what I wanted to do. So I was just like, I don't know, fuck it, I'm just gonna do it myself. And so basically, what that looked like is just starting from scratch. I'm like, all right, I need a name, and I'm like, well, my name's Nick, so NicsPicks, that's perfect. Really lucked into that one.
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah. And then after that, it was just like kind of creating my business plan, and that's pretty much what I've been doing. So I'm getting on Patreon. I'm going to be super cheap because I want people to actually like learn the industry, be able to make money doing it, and not spend all this money chasing these giant parlays, thinking they're going to win, $10,000 off a single hit, because it's just not really like I've hit big like that, but you have to spend a lot of money to, and then you end up breaking even. So
I mean, it's almost like investing, right? Like in the stock market, which is in some respects a lottery kind of vibe too.
Yep, for
if
sure.
you really know, if you know some things, then you know some. Sometimes you hit and you like 10x, 20x, 30x your money.
Yep.
And sometimes you only make 5%, 15%. If you can make more than 10% on your money overnight.
Yeah.
It's funny because in stock investments, if somebody said, "Hey, you're going to put $100 down today, and tomorrow you'll get 110," there's very few people that wouldn't do that because it's such easy money.
Right.
You literally did nothing.
Yeah.
And so in sports betting, if you can make $10 on $100, and it's I guess the risk of that is that if you're wrong, you just lose it all. Whereas in the stock market, if you're wrong, you lose some of the money, but not all.
Right. And so like that is part of it is, and it's just like the stock market. A lot of people like when GameStop happened, right? Now everybody's looking for the next. Yeah, everybody's looking for the next GameStop and just wasting thousands of dollars.
Can we call this episode "To the Moon"? With the moon emoji.
To the moon, my
That
dude.
was like Reddit for 6 months.
Yeah.
The top story was something. Blah, 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 this stock to the moon.
To the moon, and then everybody was never to the moon. Everybody wasted their
Just
money.
GME.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
they were like, "Wait, it's going super high. You actually can't sell it today.
Yeah.
You have to wait till tomorrow." 'cause we
Right,
blocked
exactly,
you."
yeah.
Biden said we had to.
Oh, man.
And so,
Actually, is what happened.
essentially, with sports betting like that, you have to just remain, crystal clear on what you're trying to do. So if you start with $500, just know that if you win your bets and you're going to lose a couple, like you might be at $520 on the next day. But the goal is to slowly build that up. And then the goal is to take money out and do it again. That's where a lot of people really screw up, is they don't take money out and then they start losing. They start betting bigger, losing more, and then you had $1,000 in your account and it's all gone. Now you're starting again with like $20. And
Basically, because they feel good about what they did, and they're like,
Yeah.
"I know I'm going to hit on this one. I've hit on all these other ones. That means
Yep.
I'm going to hit on this."
Yep.
And past
You don't want to
past
overstep your
success-
bet.
past success doesn't necessarily mean you're going to
Right.
be correct every time.
yeah, and
I think at the core of it too is if you wanted to make this a side hustle, you have to have extreme passion, extreme drive to do the research, to know exactly what you're betting on. Because if you don't know what you're betting on, chances are you're not going to hit it.
Yep. And you get lucky sometimes, and then you get a little overconfident. And
Oh yeah.
I wonder how many people are out there that don't even like sports, but they understand the analytics and are like, "I can just make hand over fist here."
Yeah.
I understand. If you
Yeah.
there's guys I've seen, little like videos where they say, "Here's the I've developed this thing and I don't show anybody it, and I
Yeah.
make tons of money."
Yeah.
They've got their little, especially I'd say probably like 10, 15 years ago, before analytics really started to be public.
Yeah.
That people were able to compile their own analytics on certain sporting leagues, and then they had this advantage over everybody, and they could go, "Well, yes, this team is, like, we'll say 2 years ago lines are 1-6. Should they have been 1-6 based on everything that was happening with the team? Probably not. They got a little unlucky at times."
Yeah.
And like sports is always going to be, there's always some lucky wins. You can have a team that's 6-1,
Yeah.
and they're a shit team.
Yeah.
And you go, "Well, they're like, that's a fraud."
Yep.
That team is going to get knocked off because they just played 5 really bad teams and they won all the games
Yep.
by 6 points. And they're, that's an advantage that you have, is being looking at all the numbers. I wonder how many
Right.
people just are like, "I don't even like sports, but I can do this."
Right. Well, it was like it's kind of like the Dallas game when Tampa Bay just walked in and just smacked them in the mouth. Anybody that watched Dallas knew that they beat up at home on really bad teams typically, and they didn't play good teams especially well.
Their
And so
division was bad.
their division was bad. So everybody that really watched football knew, like, okay, Tampa's getting a little hot right now. And the Cowboys, I mean, they dropped. Really, they should have dropped 3 in a row if it wasn't for our favorite ref.
Right.
So like, if you pay attention to that stuff, but there are guys like you said that just they bet on systems. So like there was a popular group that was betting Tampa Bay money line only because the Lions were -6.5. So they were favorites 2 games in a row, and they were like, that never works out. Tampa money line. I'm like, damn, you guys didn't. And of course, like I stationed them on TikTok. I mean, you guys don't even watch football. Like, if you're really saying that, like they're not beating the Lions. There's no possible way. It's just not happening. And well, I mean, I almost ate crow on that, but
But you didn't.
But I
And
didn't.
That's the whole point.
That's right.
Right.
I was the winner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's so. All right, so you've got the daily betting. You've got the like, I guess fantasy in general. When you're talking the whole season, it's kind of a long outlook.
Mm-hmm.
How do you pair the two? Like, what's the strategy for going, I'm going to play fantasy, or what's the advantage of playing the whole season versus playing the daily fantasy? Or
Well, you want to know what a big aspect of fantasy football that a lot of our teammates focus in on is called Dynasty Fantasy Football. And that is a league that is active all year round. And your players' values can fluctuate like stocks. Like say mid-season or even in the off-season, you get a new weapon that your team drafts.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh,
or
man.
or your guy signs as a free agent somewhere else, and suddenly they've got a better quarterback around them. Or
Yep. So, and then there's people that bottom out at the end of the season, and then that team drafts a whole new set of skilled position. They get a new coach. Their value starts to climb, like in anticipation that they're in for a breakout year. So a lot of stuff happens in the off season that you got to pay attention to, that you can take advantage of those shifts. And you can, if you can see that kind of coming in the future, like, oh, this team, yeah, they're going to draft a wide receiver and they're going to make this team a lot better. Yeah, I'm going to go get this young quarterback. I'll sell high on my quarterback that has done really super well. Like, for instance, I bought on an orphan dynasty team this past year.
so you're saying that by orphan you mean the owner left the league and you were able to buy in on
Exactly. So they had some good pieces, but I decided to trade some top talent high and get some draft picks, where I drafted CJ Stroud as my first pick in that draft. Where I
As a
could have,
Michigan fan, I have to scold you.
but as an NFL fan,
Yeah.
how did CJ Stroud
As someone
do
who's
this
looking
year?
to win
he's
money.
Incredible. Yeah.
CJ Stroud is, according to Fantasyholics, our third overall dynasty quarterback right now, which in most leagues is super valuable. Some people do super flex, which you can play two quarterbacks in a league, where CJ Stroud is the cream of the crop right now with how he did in his rookie year.
Not to mention the draft capital that Houston has. They're going to just put more pieces around him.
Yes, exactly. So I'd say being able to see that kind of like a stock market and see these players' values dip and dive and dodge and dip. Yes, we're playing dodgeball here too, folks.
If you can dodge a wrench.
So in that aspect, you can kind of see trends in the sports industry as a whole, really.
Yeah, the dynasty fantasy leagues are. I mean, they've been around for probably a decade now, but maybe longer. But kind of started to become more popular because once there are those the underground fantasy leagues where they're the first to kind of try new things out. But then once ESPN grabs it, Yahoo grabs it, and they start to run with it, then that's kind of when the mainstream starts to go in that direction. But there's nothing wrong with I guess playing fantasy for fun, right? Like, it is fun. You're putting $25 on it. It's not a big deal. Like, if you lose your $25, you don't care. You go, I mean, there's 18 weeks in an NFL season. You just paid $1.35 per week to be a part of a fantasy league. It's not bad. And if you win, cool, you win probably $250.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And you get to go buy yourself something nice.
That's right.
I think where I want to go with it is, how do I get to this, like what we're talking about this being a side hustle? Like, I don't need to make $100,000 a year.
Yeah.
I mean, I think all of us would go, well, if I could make $100,000 a year doing it, that'd be cool. But if you could make an extra $5,000 to $10,000 over the course of an entire year, or even just a season, what do you do? How do you do it?
Yeah. You have to start with a bankroll. So, like, what's your goal? Do you want to make $500 a week? Do you want to make $500 a month? And then break it down from there. And you have to just stick with playing. You have to stick with playing your units. So, like, you have to play a unit every bet. Like, there is no easy way to do it. You can win huge parlays. I think I hit one in like October where the odds were plus 55,000. So I put $15. I won like $7,000 on it on like a 3-leg parlay. Yeah, it was crazy.
That's fun.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
So how many? Okay, so all right, so you won $15 for 7,000. How many parlays did you do where you lost $15 on each of the parlays?
Like over the course of the year?
Sure.
Shit ton. Yeah, parlays you
So
don't.
you're kind of just going, all right, if I put let's say if I do 100 bets,
Yeah.
$15 a piece, $1,500. If I hit on one of them, then you win a lot more money than.
Yes, but you have to hit on one of them, and it's hard. It's hard to do.
Even going 100 or 200 doesn't.
Yeah.
You're not guaranteed to hit on them.
No, it's difficult, and that's where people lose all of their money.
Because it seems like this will be easy. Yeah, it's guaranteed.
Yeah.
And all it takes is because there's usually three, or you got more than that.
What?
3 different outcomes that you need to happen.
Oh, for the legs? No, there's people placing 15 leg parlays. I don't do that.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's
that's
unreal. 15 things have to go
and
your
sometimes
way.
they do, and like we've seen people hit $700,000, $800,000 off $10-15 bets, and it happens. But then they get really excited, and the other thing that happens is some of these
guys get really excited too.
Yeah, and some of these companies like DraftKings, for example, they produce fake tickets and they give them to content creators to say push this out, and so now people are like, oh my god, if I would have just bet 2 touchdowns on each of these 2 players in the NFL season, for week 15, I could have won $12,000. The problem is they're fake tickets.
Oh, so those bets were never a thing.
No. And it's and so a lot of new bettors don't realize.
Because I've seen that before. I've seen content creators push the bets that they made.
People make fake tickets all the time. Yep, all the time, and even like the big sports betting companies do it and the crazy part about all
marketing,
this,
right? Like,
yeah,
get people excited to go make a bet.
Dude, the content creators that have worked with DraftKings, FanDuel, whoever, PointsBet, whatever, there's a million out there now. They get paid based on your losses. So when you sign up through these creators, so if you lose $1,000, these creators are getting paid $100, sometimes more, just off that loss. So they are encouraging you to sign up, and they don't have an incentive to see you win. So it's crazy, man. Like I was talking earlier, there's no regulation to all this. It is the Wild West.
I was about to say I can't wait for the FTC to get involved, because that's coming to that's the Federal Trade Commission.
Yeah,
they are pretty they can be pretty big sticklers on advertising. So I would guess that the way around that is by using just content creators, and they just go, well, we're just posting it on our own personal page.
Yep,
it's not an ad.
That's exactly what they do. Yeah,
that's what I want to get into there.
That's the.
I mean, I don't want to get into deceiving people. I want to. I want to get into that topic. That. So I mean, you aren't doing that.
No,
because you're not a fucking dick.
Right.
But you are trying to do something different to where you actually teach people how to do this.
Yeah. So I want people to come in.
I love you. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I want people to come in, and I started creating a free ebook, and I teach people bankroll management, teach people how to actually study for bets. And I'll be posting my straights on my Patreon as well, so people can tail my bets if they want to. But I want to kind of create more of like an actual community where it's not like, dude, these discords and these big sports betting, guys, they are such dicks, bro. They are so toxic. It's awful. If they get called out for just sending losers after losers, they get crazy. They start banning people. They just start just saying the worst things.
Because they're probably charging to be a part of their Discord. Or
$50 a month typically, and you have to dude, you get inside these Discords and it's just chaos.
People, that's $1 million a year.
Yeah,
or $1 million a month.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy.
I mean, obviously they're hitting on things. If people are paying that much,
because they have so many people in their, so they have all these what's called a capper, right? So they have people that are like professional sports bettors, and they all put out their own picks. So you have like 200 picks that you have to like decipher, and people can't. Number one, you don't have the time for that.
So you've got every option possible.
Right.
So in the end,
right,
you
so,
get to just
right. And so they're like, oh, if you would have just tailed our picks, we're up, 40%. It's like, well, people can't just tail. They don't have the time, especially if this is a side hustle, which it is for a lot of people.
Right.
They don't have the time to just be tailing your 200 picks from all your different cappers, spending $50 a month for you, and then watching their, FanDuel DraftKings account go down because they're picking the wrong picks that you guys put out. And so then they just get shitty with everybody. It's an awful, awful community. It's truly awful.
I mean, I guess no offense to people that like to gamble, but like there is a vibe around gambling, or like maybe yeah, there's a cloud around gambling that says
sports bettors are called degenerates for a reason. Right. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't feel like you're a degenerate though.
Yeah, I don't want to be. I just want to teach people how to do it.
And I mean, I've worked with you, I've worked for you, and I think I can say that.
Yeah.
At least from my perspective and my experience with you, that you are not a degenerate.
Yeah.
We try to avoid those people on CockTalk.
Right.
We reject them. I mean, we'll love you, but we won't let
Is that why Joel's not on this podcast?
Yeah. Joel's had a rough week. Well, why don't we? I think we'll just keep on coming back to that, because I feel like that's a rabbit hole we could probably continue to dive down.
Yeah.
This is a world that I had no idea existed. Mm-hmm. The shit rabbit hole.
The Discord.
Discord.
Yeah.
Well, I knew the Discord rabbit hole that for lots of things exists.
Yeah.
But I guess I didn't realize that there was so much shade going on beneath the surface.
It's gambling.
It doesn't surprise me. Right.
Yeah.
Right. It doesn't surprise me, but I feel like my mind is actually trying to figure out how this is all going on without me knowing about it.
Yeah.
Well, it's not one of your passions, right?
No.
It's not a concern
but
of yours.
Sports has always been one of my passions. I just have. I think that every time I go to place a sports bet, like when I talked about earlier in the episode that I was in Vegas and I bet on sports. I think when I was betting, I felt like my mom was the good angel on my shoulder, being like, "Mom, don't put your money on. No, God would not want you to do this right now. Yeah, the Lord, you could have tithed that instead.
Instead, you throw it away.
If I win, I'll tithe half. God,
Yeah.
Have you ever tithed half? Man, I've made those. Yeah.
Not even at my peak.
Right.
Why don't we just get into some of the teams that are left? I know probably by the time people are watching this that two of the teams won't be there anymore. That's fine. I kind of just want to get into like the thoughts on how you're watching this. Like both of you, especially, we're gonna watch it because it's the Lions and it's local.
We have to.
And it's funny how, for me personally, I have been probably the last 3 or 4 years, I've just kind of been like, I just can't on the NFL anymore. For a variety of different reasons, soured on it, but also I'm super into hockey. I have a hockey podcast, so I kind of had to put my energy there. But it's exciting. I feel like you, more than anybody, you've gotten me back into the Lions a little bit, so thanks. But how do you guys, as people that you do fantasy, you're writing for fantasy, you're betting on sports, how are you guys going to watch these NFC AFC championship games and using those games to help you to watch the Super Bowl and bet on the Super Bowl and do whatever it is that you do there?
Yeah, I can tell you from my perspective. First of all, it's like Lions fan first, and then sports betting second. Or
just like totally separate, because if you just go bet on the Lions willy nilly, you're probably,
So like I stay away from like betting my Lions like money line, for example, like just a outright win. I will bet because I know the Lions so well. I do hit on Lions bets frequently.
More like the prop bets or the.
Oh yeah. I love a prop bet for sure.
And if you don't know what a prop, just explain what a prop bet is.
Yeah, prop bet is just like what we said earlier. So, is a quarterback going to hit, I think Brock Purdy said it like, I don't remember, 287 or something like that. Is he going to be over, under, or you can kind of what's called, buying points. So like you could buy down to 275, 250, that kind of thing. Christian McCaffrey, so like one of my props I'm taking, Christian McCaffrey, I'll take him 40 receiving yards all day. I think he's going to get that against the Lions, right? Like it's Christian McCaffrey. He's the best in the NFL.
It's the survivor bet of will Brian have sex with 3 or 4 people this episode? We don't know. I don't know if there's even a Brian in Survivor. I just threw out a name. But yeah, okay. Yeah. So you're mostly doing the prop bets for the Lions because of how well you know the team. You watch the team every week.
Yeah. And then any team that I do make bets on, I actually go and watch film. So I go to like the All 22. I watch actual film on so like the Ravens game, for example.
Where do you watch film?
So you can go right to NFL's website. If you sign up for their All 22, you can do that. You could easily go to YouTube and you can go through, like, if you want to keep it free, go to the team's schedule and you can go back. So like the Niners, for example, you can go back and you can see pretty good film on all the highlights just on YouTube. And
just watching the highlights from each game that they
yeah. And so YouTube does a fantastic job of basically every significant play. And you watch the entire game essentially like that. And so you can see like for San Francisco, they almost lost because of their run defense, right? So go back and see that they struggled in what's called a bunch formation. And so when Green Bay had a bunch formation and had motion, San Francisco got killed. And then you start to dive into that. Okay, how is San Francisco against the run outside the tackles? Well, it turns out they're bottom 5 in every category against the run outside the tackles.
Turns out the Lions are pretty darn good at.
And the Lions are pretty good.
Much everything run game.
Yes.
Which blows my mind because, like I said, it's been like 4 years since I really watched the Lions.
You haven't missed anything.
And right.
Yeah.
Actually, it's probably been longer because the last time I really remember being balls out for the Lions was when they lost to the Cowboys in the playoffs. And I think it was after that. Where
that was 2011.
Yeah. What? 2011?
Yeah.
No, that was 2015.
No, it was 2015.
Was it 2015?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was like, there's no way it was
Calvin
that long ago.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. 2015. That's probably, it was probably right around that time. NFL started becoming really political in that, like 2016. That was, and it kind of all just, I think, culmination of the Lions just breaking my heart for my whole entire life.
Yeah.
And then it also being like, can we just like, I watch sports to watch sports.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fine with talking politics, but I don't want to talk politics when I watch sports.
Mm-hmm.
And that whole thing soured me to it. So I think those two things made me kind of just like, I'm good. But
funny you mention, there's rumors of Colin Kaepernick being an assistant coach for Jim Harbaugh.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, the quarterback
still
that
around?
took him to the Super Bowl. Yeah.
Wow. They've got
quarterback's coach or something like that.
Probably something like that. Yeah.
I mean, and that's fine. That's probably. I mean, it's funny. He probably should have been pursuing that over trying to get into the NFL as like a 36-year-old who hadn't played in 6 years.
Right.
Probably would have made a little more sense.
Yeah.
I'm sure the people around him went, you could coach.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a fine quarterback when he was actually playing and focused on being a quarterback.
Yeah.
But I can see him bringing him in.
Yeah.
That's a
Jim Harbaugh move.
As a Jim Harbaugh.
Totally.
And probably just rebranding him completely.
Yep.
Like, be like, just leave all the other stuff behind and you be the best quarterbacks coach in the NFL.
Yeah.
And he probably will be.
Yeah.
And
do you think he could leave it behind, though? Colin Kaepernick's identity is his activism now.
Well, he's going to wear the socks.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I think part of that is there's a draw when you have even a negative outlook on things. Like, people will watch it and comment.
It is Los Angeles, after all.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, it could be just a power move to draw attention that increases sales, increases viewership, whatever, right? Like, that's a business play right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, Harbaugh, what makes Harbaugh a great coach is what makes Dan Campbell a great coach. It's not necessarily the X's and O's, even though Harbaugh, he is great with quarterbacks. That is undeniable. As much as I dislike Michigan, which I don't like Michigan even a little bit.
Do you fall somewhere else in college football? Are you a college football?
Oh, absolutely, Ohio State.
Oh,
and
God.
I have for a very long
Want to
time.
come over here, Tyler?
You guys want to share a seat?
I got room.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
And we're outside Ann Arbor right now. Let's put that in perspective.
I
we
went-
are outside of Ann Arbor
Matter of
right
fact,
now.
I threw all my Ohio State gear on and went down to ESPN Game Day.
Do you have a
Yeah?
helmet?
And I don't have a helmet.
Damn it.
Did it
Nick,
did
get
it
a
kill
helmet.
you to see
Next-
Ann Arbor win the national championship?
No, not really. Honestly, it was cool for like I have all of my friends essentially are Michigan fans, and it's been since what 97, something like that. So it was actually kind of nice. Like I was happy for people, honestly, like it because it is just sports. Like I'm not going to be a dick to people just because
Ultimately,
You don't
you
take
have
it that
nothing to
seriously.
do with what happens.
Right.
That's what I always like.
Right.
I remember, some people be like, "Are you really depressed?
Yeah.
After this particular loss or something?" And I'm like, "No.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I can be bummed
Yeah.
and like disappointed,
Right.
but also not be an asshole to my family
Right.
because a team lost. Like,
Right.
they don't give a shit about me.
Right.
They don't have. I have nothing to do with what happens there.
Yep.
As much as you like to think because you grabbed the fork instead of the knife
Right.
at dinner first, like it has nothing to do with
That's the Lions mentality, really. Is you're so used to losing that like it doesn't really bother you anymore.
But now it would.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yes, but I'm also a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, so double that.
Yeah.
So the Lions 57 or 59? 59.
57.
57.
57.
Yeah.
Okay, Lions are 57. Leafs are 67. The Tigers are 86.
84. Yep. 84.
84?
84. Yeah,
84.
I think he's
Okay,
right.
84. Yeah. So before I was born, but every team that I root for won their last championship before I was born.
Yeah.
Those three teams in particular.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's some. I remember doing the math a long time. But now it's, what was that 70 or 70 60? It's like 140 60 170 years of no championships combined for all the teams that I cheer for. So and I don't watch the NBA. I can't do it.
Okay.
So I just college basketball I can do, but I'm just not like
And
I'll
NBA,
watch it.
yeah.
I'll watch it in March Madness. I'm that guy.
That's fine.
What happened to the NBA? Because I used to watch the NBA in high school. Early 2000s, Pistons won in 04. I watched every game, and by maybe 08, I had zero interest in the league.
You know what happened? I think LeBron James going to Miami is what happened. I think
The decision.
the super teams, which there were like quote unquote super teams before, but not like that. It wasn't like I can't beat you, so I'm leaving to team up with this guy, and now we can beat you together. That's like it's so far away from like the bad boys, from like Michael Jordan. That's why to me Jordan will be the greatest of all time, because he had that mentality that LeBron James doesn't have. That's why LeBron James is the greatest probably athlete we will ever see. That dude is an absolute freak of nature. He was a
From the first freaking game in the NBA, I remember watching that game, and within the first play of the game, and he steals the ball and goes down and jams it, and I was just like, dude, this guy is. You could just you could tell. I mean, and
now we're 20 years later, and he's still doing it.
still doing it.
It's crazy.
He's like, I gotta wait for my son.
Yeah. He's literally. That's
Waiting
like
for
when he was
Bronny.
going to retire. Is waiting for
You should have
Bronny to
knocked
show
some
up.
chick up a lot sooner.
Yeah,
than
no
you
kidding. But dude, I think that's what it
been
was.
like Tyreek Hill. Sorry.
Yeah, Tyreek.
I think did he have 3 kids in this last year with 3 different people?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I think he did. That's a lot.
Anyways,
Hey, if you've got a legacy,
time for the gossip column.
I mean, Phillip Rivers has what, like 9?
Yeah, but all with the same person.
That's fair. Yeah, that we know of. I mean, who knows? Athletes or something.
Yeah.
But dude, I think that, I mean, that's what it was for me. I'm like, this just doesn't feel competitive anymore. And then you have the lottery, and so like the Pistons, who can win like 7 games and still get like the 5th, 6th pick. And
So you like the NFL system, which with the lottery you're talking about. when you finish last, you just have the best odds to have the first overall pick, but you don't necessarily get the first overall pick.
Exactly. Yeah.
Where like, I don't know what it is NBA. I know NHL's like 20%, then 17.5%, and so on. And so
they're
forth
almost
down.
identical. I believe.
And didn't
yeah.
some in the NBA won the lottery being like the last team to miss the playoffs or something, right? At one point.
Several times. I mean, and like the Pistons, for example, have been one of like the worst team and missed out on the first pick.
And it's funny because that happens with the Red Wings too.
Yeah, it does.
They finished last a few times, and
Yeah.
they end up with like, you can in the NHL you can only move down 3 picks, and they've moved down 3 picks multiple times.
It's crazy, man. Yzerman thankfully knows what he's doing though.
Yeah, they're
not
good.
to get
They're
off topic,
They're looking
but
like they're gonna get there this year.
yeah, DeBrincat is. I mean, like everybody was just
It's a good signing.
yeah,
Or a
and
good
nobody liked it at the time. Nobody liked it at the time, and just like we're just gonna be the worst team again. And he just came in and
Well, he only had 8 goals a year before. I could really get into that.
yeah,
That's where I could go. But yeah, there's. I can't remember how we got here. How
I
did
don't
we
know.
get here?
Oh, we were
We were talking about NBA.
yeah.
Yeah.
Before
We're going
that,
through all the leagues right now.
yeah. Before that, we were talking about how were we watching the game
Yes.
essentially.
And with the NBA, they also changed a lot of rules and how it was officiated.
Oh, that's true.
And they made it basically, we don't want people to be able to play defense. Because if you
Right.
remember that Pistons team, they won games in the playoffs. Joel, fact check me. 2004 playoffs for the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say they won games where they had less than 80 points.
It was less than 80.
They had the best
they
defensive
pulled the record.
lineup.
Yep.
Unbelievable. And you could never do, now
Yeah.
you don't win a game unless you have over 120.
Could you
points.
imagine holding a team in the NBA to under 80 points? That's unheard
That's
of.
crazy.
I
Yeah.
want to say they won games where the other team had less than 70 points.
I'm sure that's true.
I
Yeah.
don't know what the score was of. I went to whatever the first home game was for the Pistons. I think that would be game 3.
Yeah.
I went to game 3 of the finals in 2004 against
Yeah.
the Lakers. My dad's work had tickets or something.
Yeah.
I did not appreciate it at all. I was like 18.
Yeah.
It was cool. Like
Yeah.
I knew
Yeah.
we're in the championship. I knew how cool it was. But I had no idea how much, if like now I wanted to go to a finals game and sit in a suite, how much I would have to pay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's at least $1,000 for a ticket
Easily.
in the championship.
Oh, yeah.
like against that Lakers team that was Kobe and Shaq. I mean,
Yeah.
it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
It was so fun.
Yeah.
But now you buy that ticket, that's a $3,000 ticket.
Yeah.
Like no problem with
Dude, the prices for the divisional game for the Lions. I mean, that was. The cheapest you were finding was between $500 and $600 for. I mean, upper deck.
I'm all out, and I feel like I need to.
I think I might need a refresh
some
too.
people can have a little bit more. It's never a bad time to just pass that around.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that color.
That's
Oh, you've got a full cup still.
I got a little. I've been talking a lot.
He's been talking
you know.
all the time. He
Yeah.
hasn't
There
had
you
a
go.
chance
Give that
to.
to
yeah.
Derek.
Wet your whistle a little bit there.
Yeah.
Let's go back to how you're gonna watch these games. Specifically, like I know the games are gonna be over. That's fine. I mean, we'll definitely give some predictions because then you can either people will go, "Ha, what an idiot," or you'll just look freaking genius.
Yeah.
But how are you going to watch these games to bet on the Super Bowl? Or like from a fantasy perspective where like your season's over, you're not playing, at least you might be playing daily fantasy
Yeah.
for these weeks. But as far as the in-season, regular season fantasy, that's all over. How will you use this championship game into the Super Bowl to inform your decisions later on?
I mean, for me, I'm going to be making the same type of bets that I make. Now, the fun thing with the Super Bowl is we get to make really weird bets, right?
There's some weird bets.
Yeah,
but there's also bets about like the commercials and
yes,
like,
yep, like how many commercials there's going to be, you
The
know.
color of the gator.
which it's funny
Yeah.
because they already know the answer to that.
Yep. And so, I will.
And they just go, oh, a lot of people bet that there's going to be more than 85, so
Right.
let's make it 84.
Right. Yeah. So like I'll have fun with that, but I'm gonna stick with like, who I think is going to be in. I do think it's going to be the Chiefs versus the Lions. I do, after watching everything, that's who I think is gonna be in the Super Bowl.
I wink at Tyler because he's sending me, the Super Bowl colors.
Uh-huh.
The logo
are the opposite of what you just said.
The logo theory.
Although there's a lot. Let's. Joel, what time are we at right now?
Can we take a break?
It's an hour.
We're at an hour.
Yeah, we can split here.
Yeah, let's take a break. All right, we're gonna leave the conspiracy stuff for the end because that's its own freaking animal. Although we did get into some conspiracies earlier, we'll get into some Super Bowl rigging, because the Super Bowl's all rigged. NFL's a fraud. No, let's get into some picks. I think that's what people want to know. Who you've got winning, not just the AFC and NFC championship, but ultimately the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And maybe we can kind of throw out all the possibilities of the Super Bowl, which is, there's only 4 of them. So the potential of those picks and what you've got.
Yeah.
Nick, why don't you?
Yeah. All right. So I think it's Chiefs Lions. I think we are before the show, Derek and I talked about it. The season is closing how it ended. I think Chiefs Lions. I think this. God, we've said this for so many years, but I think this is the Lions' year. And the reason we get past San Francisco is when you're in the NFL playoffs, you have to do 2 things. You have to run the ball and you have to stop the run. That has forever been the case in the NFL. You have to run the ball, stop the run. The best run stop in the NFL is the Detroit Lions. They just are. They are fantastic at stopping the run. And I don't think the Niners are going to try to push McCaffrey. I mean, he's already really dinged up. He's historically, Derek, I'm sure you know, he is historically injured. Injured. He doesn't typically stay healthy very often. And then, like I said earlier, I think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to absolutely feast against that defense. Green Bay did.
Like he did against Tampa, too.
Yeah. And I mean, he has, the whole second half of the season, he has been kind of unstoppable. Dude is just good. He is fast. I mean, he reads defense as well. He's a one cut back. When you guys watch the game, you're going to see as soon as he plants his foot, he's just gone. He knows where he wants to go and he just goes for it. And so, the Niners, they can rush the passer as good as anybody in the NFL. But the Lions, they have to get the ball first. They have to run it effectively and they have to score. You have to get Brock Purdy to play from behind. Purdy's an average quarterback. I hate to say that to anyone that's a big Niners fan, but he's an average quarterback on a fantastic team. They are really, really good. I don't think it's going to be an easy win. I don't see a blowout, anything like that. But the Lions can run the ball. They can stop the run, and they are disciplined. And that is all very, very important. And you have, I think, a better quarterback in Jared Goff than you do in Brock Purdy.
Okay, under Goff, 3 sacks on Goff.
I'll take.
Well, hold on. We'll say 3.5.
3.5.
3.5.
Yeah, there you go.
What's your over under on that?
I'm gonna take the under on that because of the play action. Again, like you get the guys going outside the tackles. And a lot of motion.
It's going to be tough to rush guys from the outside and to rush your linebackers into.
Yeah, especially like you have Penei Sewell against their best defensive lineman is Nick Bosa, but he's on the left side and he's going up against the best right tackle in the NFL, and that is not a debate. He is the best right tackle in the NFL, and so he's not going to be getting home much at all. I don't think so. As long as Ragnow stays healthy, that's our Frank the Tank, man, he is a beast.
It doesn't matter if he's healthy. He's just gonna go out there anyway.
God, that dude.
Just put on a sleeve, another sleeve.
It's unbelievable.
Guy's gonna have like knee immobilizers. He's gonna just have one straight leg, and he'll still be better than half the league.
I know, it's crazy, man. But that's why, and going over to the Chiefs, that's the same thing. It's why I think the Chiefs are beating Baltimore. I don't really trust Lamar in the playoffs still. That's Lamar is a better quarterback this year than he used to be, but I still don't trust him. Kind
of that like typical unbelievable in the regular season when the pressure is relatively off and then the pressure comes on and there's something about that. Like there are some guys where when the pressure comes, and it seems like he's one of them that just they squeeze the ball a little too hard. They make some silly plays and all. I mean, in the NFL in the playoffs, you make one stupid play, that's the difference.
Yeah, and the Chiefs have a really good defense too. They can stop the run. They've got a good secondary. And the Ravens, their only weakness.
And an okay quarterback.
Yeah, an okay quarterback. God, that dude. But Isaiah Pacheco, dude, he runs like he hates Mother Earth. The way he stomps on the ground. He is violent. And the Ravens' only weakness is against the run. And so you let Mahomes use a play action on you. I just think it's going to be Chiefs-Lions, regardless of the colors of the Super Bowl logo.
Yes.
I think
so. You mean it's going to be Taylor Swift against Dan Campbell?
It's Taylor Swift.
Those are the faces of the franchise.
Eminem.
Let's be honest.
Versus Eminem.
Yes. Okay. I'm sorry.
Eminem.
Yes.
Yeah.
Eminem. Yes.
I did see
Do a celebrity death match.
Yeah, a funny meme that I saw was like it was Eminem versus Taylor Swift, and like he's the only one that can stop her now, and so I kind of like that. You know,
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Nick, I got one question for you with a prop bet. Christian McCaffrey, before the show, the over-under rushing yards was, I think, 84.5.
I'm taking under.
I was taking under too.
Yeah.
Because the Lions haven't allowed a rusher 80-plus yards on the season.
Yeah.
Even though he's statistically the best running back in the league right now.
Yeah. But the Niners don't have a great offensive line. They're ranked around 20 as far as offensive line performance, both rush and pass. So, and they're not going to. His over under for rushes is 19.5. They're not running him 20 times. They're just not doing that. They know that the Lions secondary we allowed a lot of yards, right? Everybody knows that. Not a ton of scores, really. Like considering quarterbacks will drop 350, 400 yards on the secondary, but they'll give up 20, 30 points at the most. But anyway, I'm taking under on both those props.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that for sure.
Derek, who do you have winning? We'll start Lions 49ers.
Just the inner Lions fan in me, even though I want it to be our year, I always am going to think of the worst. Like, my expectations for the season have been met. Yeah, they won the NFC North division. Huge. They won their first playoff game. Huge. They won a second playoff game. Oh my gosh. Went bonkers. They're in the NFC.
Sorry, in 91 when they went to the NFC Championship game, did they play 2 playoff games or did they only play 1?
I think they only played 1,
They
actually.
only played 1. They had a bye week.
So is this the first time they've ever won 2 playoff games in a playoff season?
Yes.
Correct.
Yep.
Before
That's freaking bonkers.
Yeah, before the
Or,
NFL. When it was
before the
NFL.
NFL was officially a league, they did win.
In the 50s.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yes, they won the championship.
Yeah.
of
Sure.
the
in
NFL.
my
But yes,
day.
in the
There was
modern
no
era,
Super Bowl.
yes.
It's
Yeah.
the National Football League. No.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what I mean is that like once the Super Bowl is established, they have not won 2 playoff games in the same year.
Yeah.
Yes. So even though I want it to be our year, these expectations have been met, and what I believe is the best team in the NFL is in their way in the San Francisco 49ers, where they are complete on both sides of the ball. They have absolutely stout defensive backs, where the Lions offense runs pretty well on both sides of the ball. I mean, at an elite level, rush and pass offense. The Niners have the tools to actually battle both of those. But the Lions don't have the defense right now to battle the pass offense that the Niners offer.
They don't have that second.
They have McCaffrey, they have Deebo Samuel, they have Brandon Ayuk, they have George Kittle. They have a quartet of elite weapons. They are all elite. And it's because they have all those. It's because they have Brock Purdy, who's on a rookie contract.
And when your third best wide receiver could be a handful of teams' top wide receiver,
Yes.
you know you're in a good place.
Exactly.
That's when you know you're in a good place.
So while I believe the Lions will put up the best possible fight, they will cover the spread of 7.5 points coming into today. They will make it very close. They will come up short. I just believe that their team, the Niners are just way too stacked for them to overcome this one, honestly. When it comes to the AFC...
Hold on, wait 1 second.
Yeah.
Do you think that your prediction is Lions fan first? Because you said Lions fan first and not and then betting second. Is that your Lions fan coming out? Or are you like willing to put money... Are you going to put money on the Lions for this?
I'll put money
on the spread.
On the spread for sure. I might do money line as well. And again, a lot of this depends on Brock Purdy. Like
I
Brock
want
Purdy.
I want to post a screenshot of his money line.
Yeah,
bet.
let's do it.
Prove it.
We can do that.
Put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah. Brock Purdy, though, he was not good against Green Bay. He might be one of those guys that's not good under pressure. And we know that when you actually get pressure on Brock Purdy, that's the thing. Like if they have to play from behind, historically, their head coach is like in the last 3 years only has a couple wins. He's got a handful of wins playing from behind.
How many rookie quarterbacks have taken their team to the Super Bowl? Can you name
Rookies.
some off the top of your head? He's a rookie, isn't he? Or not a rookie? He's not a rookie.
No.
Russell Wilson, I think, won as a rookie.
He's not a rookie. Oh, that's right. He did.
Yeah,
think he did.
Brock Purdy's a second-year guy.
Second year.
He took
Brock
he took
Purdy's
over
second year.
when Jimmy Garoppolo
Trent
got
Dilfer
hurt.
also took a team to the Super Bowl. So
Well, right, and that's always the point, right? And like, not to get off topic, but Niners fans they're delusional about who Brock Purdy is. They truly are, because like I always
You hear that? You're wrong. You know your team not at all.
if you want to get some just good comments and just some good traffic to your videos, talk shit about Brock Purdy. The Niners fans will love
There we go.
it. Yeah. I think like my last one I got like 80 comments about like how stupid I was. And the thing is like their favorite thing to say is Jimmy Garoppolo. Why couldn't Jimmy do it? But the whole thing, so we've talked about Christian McCaffrey, he runs that offense. You shut McCaffrey down, you win the game. That's the Niners offense. People don't seem to realize. So Christian McCaffrey got traded. Jimmy Garoppolo was a starter, and he was 6-1 with 1,200 yards, 9 touchdowns, 1 interception, 110 quarterback rating with Christian McCaffrey. Then he got hurt. Brock Purdy came in and basically has been putting up the same numbers. Has nothing to do with Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy is Jimmy G. Finkel is Einhorn.
the team around him.
Yes, exactly. So you stop McCaffrey.
It's like Garoppolo had the same kind of vibe happen to him in New England. Even though they didn't make the playoffs, they were like 11-5.
Yep.
And missed the playoffs.
Exactly.
The year Brady got hurt.
Yep.
I gotta call this back to the delusion.
Okay.
Lions fans are delusional.
Sure.
And I think that if you're going to compare, if I could compare 49ers delusion about Purdy, we could say the same thing about the Lions delusion regarding Matthew Stafford. We believed in that man so many years. We traded him, and what did he do?
Win a Super Bowl.
He won a Super Bowl. So Purdy might have it in him. I don't think we can write him out, just because maybe the 49ers aren't his team. He could find a team that just automatically clicks like Goff is with the Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
The Matthew Stafford Goff trade has worked out very well for both teams, where if they were swapped on their originals, it hasn't been successful for either.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's necessarily Purdy in this instance. Maybe he's just not on the right team.
Purdy, he's
a second-year guy too.
He's new. He's new.
He's a second-year guy. Look, he's not bad. He's good. He's an average NFL quarterback, I think.
Which an average NFL quarterback is still the 15th to 20th best quarterback in the NFL.
Correct.
The 15th best quarterback in the whole freaking world.
Right.
Yeah.
Is not a bad place to be.
And so
doesn't mean you're garbage.
Right.
It just means that you're
Exactly.
the 15th best and not the 3rd best.
Right. And that's okay. Like
You aren't Patrick Mahomes.
Right. And it's the same thing.
Lamar Jackson.
I could say the same thing about Jared Goff. Jared Goff is very similar. He's very insulated. Just like Purdy is the most...
He's in the perfect system for him.
Yeah. Right. Where Jared Goff doesn't improvise well under pressure, right? Like Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes, you get him under pressure. Lamar Jackson, they improvise and they can make crazy plays.
Which is why against Tampa Bay, when the one play where he tried to improvise, it looked like he just.
Yeah,
it's true.
You look like me,
right? Right, but you put the best offensive line around him. Now he's just performing.
Yeah,
it rarely happens, but that's what they have spent a lot of draft capital on.
I mean, it rarely happens that he has to improvise. Sorry.
Correct. Right. So I would say the same thing about Jared Goff. Jared Goff and Brock Purdy are very similar type quarterbacks. But when they're playing from behind, so if the Lions have to play from behind, they're gonna get wrecked. If they get down 2 scores, they're going to get demolished because the Niners can just pin their ears back and go off, and you're not going to stop that pass rush.
Do you guys follow the account Cold Hard Takes?
No.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically like people giving their takes on sports, and then
Yeah.
they go back 3 months later and they go, look at this.
3 years later,
like,
yeah.
or years later.
People got it right.
So I think there's a chance that we've got some we can be like, look at how smart these guys are.
Yeah.
But also we could just tag Cold Hard Takes.
Yeah.
Like, look at this.
Exactly.
Tag the date.
Yes.
Brock Purdy's
Called
garbage throws for 500 yards.
Yeah.
Gets traded to the Ravens and wins.
I think we still have not gotten to your your AFC picks. Let's get to your
Right.
AFC picks, and then we're going to get to who you think is going to the Super Bowl, but not because of anything that any of the.
Well, let's.
Yeah, so based on football alone, I still believe the both number 1 seeds, so the Niners and the Ravens, will be in the Super Bowl against each other. The Ravens, I don't know if it's just also the Lions fan in me that saw the Ravens absolutely demolish, bend over, and slap that Lions ass.
I'm picturing that.
It was awful. It was the worst
Big
game
cat.
of the season.
Big
no
cat
doubt.
booty.
I think it was like 38-6 or something like that. Yeah.
So that's if the Lions win, that's the matchup you do not want.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yep.
Yes.
So you're rooting Chiefs all the way.
Yep.
But I believe it's the Ravens' year. Their defense has been absolutely outstanding.
Yeah. Historically so.
Historically
Yeah.
so. Yes, the Ravens' defense has always been very stout. And I believe they're going to catch the Chiefs, who are on a down offensive year, where Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes, but his offense around him has not been great at all. They've led the league in dropped passes from all of their pass catchers.
It's like all of a sudden he's got Deion Branch and Tom Brady had some of those teams where you're like, I don't know if they can do it.
Yeah.
And then he'd still win the Super Bowls.
Yeah.
So
Tampa Bay.
I don't know if I'm comparing Mahomes to Brady yet.
Mahomes has
fair.
been
I think
able
it's
to
fair.
make it work, though, and they still ended up winning the division. So, but I don't believe that they'll be able to overcome this Ravens defense that is able to rush the quarterback. Even though the Chiefs have a very good offensive line, the Ravens have a pretty darn good secondary with outstanding safety play and some very talented corners. I just don't think that with the Chiefs' very mediocre wide receiver core that they will be able to overcome the Ravens.
I do like that both of you have the complete opposite picks.
Which, by the way, I'm taking the under for the Chiefs Ravens.
I like the under too.
Yeah, for sure. It's gonna be like 10-13 or something weird. Those defenses are too good.
Yes, agreed.
Now, if you were to go onto our conspiracy or into Tyler's brain, you might find Derek's picks being the picks that are being spread around because of the colors of the Super Bowl logo. What's because it's happened the last 2 years. What's the theory here?
Okay, so let's start off with this. Analytically, I don't necessarily agree with this, but I love the theory behind it. The conspiracy is that within the last 3 years, the Super Bowl logo has been a gradient of 2 colors. And these 2 colors, this logo is released, before the playoffs even start? Mm-hmm. And these 2 colors end up being the main colors of the 2 teams that are in the Super Bowl.
And
for the
something about,
last
like,
3
the color
years.
that's on top.
And the team that's on the bottom wins.
Mm-hmm.
Team that's on the bottom.
So you have this weird, and this was right when sports betting was legalized throughout all of the states. You know, you can do it. You can do it from your home if you want to now. That was not always the case.
Right.
So the NFL switched to an entertainment company.
Yeah.
And with this comes a little bit of sketchiness.
From a sports league. Or,
yes.
They were a nonprofit.
You've got
nonprofit,
You've
yeah.
got hundreds of millions of dollars.
That's because they were a nonprofit because you had the NFL, and then each individual team is their own entity. And so the NFL wasn't technically making money.
Right. Well, I mean, obviously
Right.
they are.
Yeah.
Rogers is rolling in the dough.
Yeah.
But you have essentially a restructuring of the company and sports betting becoming legalized.
And they became the WWE.
In the enormous influx of money comes great power and influence.
And responsibility.
I knew that was coming.
Thank you, Spider-Man.
And it's interesting to note that it has been so consistently those two colors that have been represented. Now, if you look at the current logo, it's purple and red. And how many red teams have been in the playoffs? We've got the Chiefs, we've got the 49ers, we've got
But the 49ers are
the Buccaneers. You have multiple teams that could be red. But if you've got purple, I mean, there's only one team that screams purple, and that's the Ravens.
I also saw somebody taking the colors, and they were like, well, see, if you really think about it, you have to blend these two colors together, and that equals this. So that means that it'll actually be the Bucks and the Lions.
Yeah.
I saw somebody do that. I was like, all right. I mean, now, okay, sports betting. Do you think that maybe not the whole thing, because that would be, there's a whole, like, and I tend to agree with this, that, like, how are you going to get hundreds of people or even dozens of people to never talk about this?
Right.
Well, there are like a couple people. What's the Adrian, former running back for the Houston Texans? He was taken second.
Arian Foster.
Arian Foster. Yes, he came out and he said something like, "Yeah, I would get a script every week, and they would tell me like what was going to happen." And
He's so full of shit.
Yeah, I don't believe that for a second.
So there's one guy.
That's a guy being a meme.
Now it could be
being a joker.
yeah. Anyways, I doubt that many people could keep a secret.
Right.
But is there a chance that there's a guy over here? Like, there's some clips where you watch, and it's like a regular season game, and this team needs to win, and there's a clear path to going and tackling a guy into the end zone, and the player runs right to a blocker, away from where the quarterback's running or something. And there's some weird plays where you go, why would you ever do that? Or like, how could you drop that ball? Or all these things that go into it. Is there a
Cowboys game
chance
with the
that
Lions.
Yeah.
on those small things that there's a like, hey, we want this team to meet the spread, so don't do this or that? Like,
I think the easiest thing to recognize if something is a little like not right is from the refs. I've seen clips of refs bumping into players, accidentally knocking the ball out of hands of players. I don't buy that for a second. Those guys know where to stand. They know where to be. If they're in the way, they need to be in the way to push some sort of narrative.
Yeah.
But if you've got guys that have been playing football their entire life, they don't know how to act. They're not actors. Those are competitive, driven, hard-working guys. They're not going to give up some play because some guy gave them, $1 million. They want to fucking win.
Yeah.
And they have dreamed about this Super Bowl win their entire life. Sorry. That what is one play, $1 million going to give them over the glory that they've dreamed about?
And
Since
the
they were
next
little.
contract, by the way.
Yeah.
And their next contract, which
Honestly,
will exceed $1 million.
if you win a Super Bowl, your contract,
Yeah.
plenty
like,
of guys who
it's
only
worth
make-
way more
what's the
than
league minimum in the NFL.
Yeah, it depends.
600,000.
Yeah, it
It's like
depends on how
700,000,
long
yeah.
they've been
So
in. Yeah.
I mean, and granted, I know those guys aren't generally playing the skilled position. Those are they're on your special teams,
Late round picks, yeah.
But I mean, I don't know that it's out of the realm of possibility that somebody offers somebody some money. Or
I love the idea of it because it definitely happens.
I think that it's more on a very small scale, I think Vegas has a ton of influence in the like. No, we really need this team to win right now, or we really need this team to not make the spread. So let's,
Do you remember the Buffalo Wild Wings commercials? I wish this game would go into overtime, and they press the button behind the bar, and they make something happen in the game.
see, they're trying to tell you something.
Looks like this game's going into overtime.
I do also, I think there's so much money and influence in the entertainment world. And when you look at the Chiefs being red and also being tied to now Taylor Swift, who draws so much more media attention, which, goes into advertising money. It seems so clear, let's be evident. It is very clear that Taylor Swift being involved with the Chiefs, a top tier team, has some sort of media influence and drive for monetary reasons.
I guess and Taylor Swift obviously popular, but are there other NFL players that are dating like some celebrity?
Not like Swift.
Not.
Well, there's no one like Swift. Right?
Swift has
Well, right.
600 million followers.
There's few CIA operatives out there that.
If we're gonna go into real conspiracy theories,
have you seen
right?
that one? Have you seen that the UN? There's like a lady at the UN who's they're in one of their sessions. They're talking about how this is like 7 or 8 years ago. Kind of like it's not as if Taylor Swift was nothing, but she hadn't blown up to the proportion that she is now. And they actually talk about acquiring her as an asset.
This is what I was just about to talk about. It's the WEF actually.
Well, the web, yeah.
Yeah,
World Economic.
the WEF, the World Economic.
UN, WEF. Same
Yeah,
thing.
that they wanted to convert her into an asset because of her influence on young minds. So you've got this person who's now associated with an NFL team, who's now an entertainment company, driving all this viewership, which then consequently is all this advertiser money. We've got something really shady.
Long story short, you can make a lot of money betting on the NFL, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to like bow to the NFL, right? Like you shouldn't
follow what the media is showing you, and you're gonna pick your win.
Now here's my theory on this, is that they were doing this until somebody realized what was happening, and then now they're flipping the script, right? And so all these people are going to have a 2-team parlay of the Niners and the Ravens, and both are going to lose.
So the
Both are gonna
NFL
lose.
put out the like, they did the They've got their people going out there and posting
They've
on
got
Reddit.
so much media presence that they can analyze Twitter, whatever is posting all of the YouTube Shorts. Where people, because my YouTube Shorts, that's usually what I use for social media. It is covered in this logo conspiracy
That's because
theory.
you keep looking up the freaking.
Well, it's relevant,
It knows,
right? It's interesting.
It knows that you're drooling
But if
over
you're a real businessman and you say, okay, if I want to control my money and everybody believes this is going to happen, why don't I flip the script by paying off these refs $200 million and I can make a bill off
So
of it?
I don't,
whatever it is.
I don't think they paid the refs off, but if you look at who they assigned as the refs, the one for the Chiefs-Ravens game, he in the playoffs, I forget the actual number now, but overwhelmingly calls penalties on the home team, and the away team wins under this head refs tutelage. Consistently. So the Chiefs have this kind of weird advantage already. And then the other ref, do you know who the ref is for the Lions?
Cleat Blakeman.
Yeah.
He has a history with Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers, who he was formerly with.
Yeah.
And I do not appreciate his time in officiating our games.
Yeah.
He hates the Lions.
So does it?
Seems like
he hates the Lions.
Real frustrated at some point.
We might.
It's interesting too, because you talk about the referees that are chosen. If you look at the past several games the Lions played the Dallas Cowboys, you have the same ref officiating those games, always making. I don't mean to be a bitter Lions fan, but if the same guy is officiating the same game and making the same calls against the same team,
How easy it is to just be like, hey, we should just
like
do
something
that.
nefarious is going on.
Let's
here,
just,
you know,
we have
And
a slew of referees that
call
can do
me
this.
a
Let's
bitter Lions fan, but something's
We're
got
allowed
to
to
be.
be.
I mean, it seems so obvious.
I'm more bitter at Martha though.
I just want to look at the facts, and the facts are there. Well, how can you ignore them?
Yeah.
Yeah, love it. All right, well, I think we should wrap this up. We'll revisit this again. Nick, we definitely want to have you on again.
Okay.
To whenever we have you on again, we'll talk about what happened in the Super Bowl. NFL drafts coming up. It's in Detroit. That'll be fun. So we'll try to get you on again before the draft, because that's going to be. Are you going to go to the draft?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be cool to just go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it'll be amazing.
I'm not a huge avid NFL.
Yeah, it's gonna be an
But
event though. It's gonna be
It's
awesome.
really fun to go to those like all-star games or pro, like anything like that.
Yeah.
where the whole league's going to be there. It's just a fun event. All right, well, that's Cock Talk. Thanks to Nick for being on the show. And even though this is both your first show, you guys are going to be on. Derek and Tyler are going to be on the show.
You'll see us more
regularly.
often.
But Nick, oh my gosh, I have to I can't even think of it now. Kiselewski.
Kiselewski, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
See, it's the first time
Just
I've ever said
add
it
more
out loud.
syllables.
Correct.
Yeah.
Just tell everybody again where they can find you.
Yeah, so TikTok is like my main thing. Nicolas Kiselewski. I'm sure you guys will have a link
It'll
for
be in
it.
the description below. You can go click on
and then I'm launching the Patreon too, to start helping people learn how to actually bet and do it profitably without losing your ass.
Yeah, we'll have all his all links. Any links that we talked about in the show will be in the description below. And Derek, one more time, where can people find your content?
You can find us at Fantasyholics.com, or you can follow us on Facebook and YouTube for our podcasts that we offer. There's a Dynasty podcast by our Fat Boys, as well as a few other IDP podcasts that those guys do a very good job. But either way, you can reach out to me at hashtag DRock313, or any one of us are able to answer your fantasy questions, whatever you guys need. So
Derek, how do you spell holics?
Fantasyholics, like think of an alcoholic.
HOLIC.
Is it HOLIX? HOLICKS?
Fantasy HOLICS
Perfect.
There it
dot
is.
com.
And
There
if
it
you
is.
have half your drywall falling apart or something, just
Yeah, don't look me
the
up.
Patch Boys in Detroit.
I'm a regional guy.
But if you're watching in Detroit,
Yeah.
hey,
Yep.
I'll help you out.
Yeah.
what happens if you all of a sudden get an influx of business because of this?
Hey,
podcast?
we're a national franchise, so
Hey, you never know.
if it's not me, it's somebody else. The Patch Boys.
Beautiful. Well, thanks, gentlemen, for being
Yeah,
on the show.
thank you guys.
And thank you to Joel for sitting here and listening to this entire thing. And this is only the first time he'll do this.
What a guy.
Go Lions, yes.
Yeah.
And thanks for listening. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, all the good things at CockTalk, the podcast is where you can find us.